Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Not Up for Debate podcast. It's Damien and Randy here. Today, we have our very first guest of somebody that we haven't actually met before. This is our first time meeting Linda. All of our previous guests have been longtime friends. And so I'm personally very excited to have somebody on. Yeah, somebody on that. Too. Yeah, we haven't met Linda in person. And also, the topic that we're going to be discussing today is also in my world is unique. I don't know very many people that follow Islam personally. I know it's a huge religion that has plenty of people following it. I just don't know people personally within it. So I'm very excited for this. So welcome, Linda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. It's a nice day. So we live in the woods. We don't have great connection, but today seems to be good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that the weather's permitting for this to happen today. So
yeah, very excited to have you on. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Awesome. So Linda, if you don't mind, we'll go into introducing yourself. Who you are, where you're from, all that fun stuff.
I was born in 1949 in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina. And a family on my mother's side were Scottish or Americans. So they're the original hillbillies. So I was raised in the hillbilly lifestyle. We raised our own crops, and Mama spent all summer canning, and so we had canned foods all winter. We raised a pig every year to slaughter in the fall, and then we spent several weeks processing all the meat and the lard. We always had a big wooden barrel full of lard, and we had a milk cow, but it was always kicking Daddy in the head. And one day it kicked him in the head, and it was just one time too many. So he picked up a log and knocked the cow down and killed it. After that, we bought milk in mason jars from one of the neighbors who had several milk cows.
There we go. Yeah, that's probably worth it.
We didn't have any electricity except for light bulbs that were hanging from long strings from the ceiling. And we didn't have any plumbing except for the kitchen sink, and we were glad to have that. Mama washed clothes for a long time in a black cauldron out in the backyard. And finally, Daddy bought her a Ringer washing machine, and she was happy about that.
That's awesome.
My grandma was a moonshiner. That was my daddy's mama, and I actually drove a moonshine car one time from a boy that run shine.
Wow!
Yeah, you have
the history.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have such a cool history, and so what was what's the religious background there as you're growing up? And
well, you said that she had a nickname she likes to go by. You were telling me, right?
Oh yeah, I think you call yourself the Hillbilly Muslim.
Yeah, my whole story.
I love that so much.
The book. Yeah, Memoirs of a Hillbilly Muslim.
Oh, awesome.
And that's my chicken Mo on the front. So it tells my whole story. I left home in 1970 and joined the Air Force. And that's where I met my husband, Tom. He was enlisted too. I have 2 art degrees, and I made my career in art and writing. And I have 7 books published so far.
Oh, that's so cool.
I was also a martial arts instructor until February 2022, I got an aggressive form of COVID, and I got lung damage from that, and I haven't been able to go back to martial arts, but I was in training for my master's belt. So that'll have to wait till I get to Paradise. Hopefully they'll have martial arts classes in Paradise.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they're waiting for you to teach them.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You sound like, you have such an interesting...
I hope I'm not on the schedule to teach next week.
That's true.
In Paradise.
It's a few decades away. Absolutely.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, we hope not. We hope not too.
So before you, because I know, Damien, you had something, but before you move on, Linda, was there somewhere that someone could go to find your books somewhere online?
Yeah.
Through Amazon?
Well, some of them are just still distributed globally. But I do have my own Amazon page. So if you search Amazon author page, Linda Ilham Barto, my books will come up.
Okay. And we'd be happy to, when your episode comes out, we would be happy to put that on our social media and our website as well to kind of advertise your books a little bit for you for our audience.
We'll make sure we put a link up for that.
I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd be interested in checking some out, Linda. So we'll have to look into that a little bit further. And then also, Damien, real quick, Linda, you said that you were getting close to your master's belt. Is that the same as like a black belt, or is that a different?
I'm a third degree black belt.
Oh wow!
And master's is fifth degree.
Oh, okay. So you're a lethal weapon.
Yeah, I was gonna say some days. I was gonna say you have such a unique, in my opinion, unique story, background, and like just all around badass. Like I just think it's so cool. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. That's absolutely unique. So. Did you have any follow-up questions you wanted to ask, Randy?
Actually, I'm just kind of interested in where we are now. You said you're the Hillbilly Muslim. Were you always the Hillbilly Muslim, or did that change?
I was raised Southern Baptist in a church that had Ku Klux Klan members as deacons and Sunday school teachers. But even when I was real little, I did not accept that message of racism. It never made any sense to me.
Right.
And during the civil rights movement, my daddy was a deacon, and they had an emergency deacons meeting because the people in the church were scared to death that a black person might try to visit the church.
Wow.
But my daddy was also an usher. And when he went to the deacons meeting, he was the first one to speak. And he says, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk him down the aisle and find him a place to sit.
That's
good
awesome.
for him.
So
That's
that was the end of the meeting. My daddy was a World War II Purple Heart, a Marine veteran.
Oh,
so
nice.
people didn't argue with him.
That's awesome.
So I think that was braver, though, than anything that he ever did in the war. And it took a lot of courage to tell Ku Klux Klan members that he was going to seat any black people that came to the church.
Right.
It's amazing. And what a good example for you too. I'm glad that your parents were, seemed like on the same page as far as overcoming racism. Social awareness, overcoming racism. Yeah, it sounds like, you had some good parents in that.
Well, compared to today, they were racist, but it was not a seething hatred like you see from so many people today. They just believe that black people belonged in their place and white people belonged in their place, but they were not mean and hateful, and they were willing to love everybody. as soon as I got my driver's license and my own car, I left that church and started visiting other churches, trying to find a God big enough to embrace everybody, regardless of religion, race, or any other aspect of pluralism, because it was not just white supremacy, I heard, but Christian supremacy, and specifically Southern Baptist Christian supremacy, because even the Lutherans down the street were in trouble. So, they believed you had to be Baptist to be saved. And that never made sense to me, because I didn't think God was a Baptist.
Good point.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I really didn't find that God until I read the Quran. And that was the bigger God that I was looking for. And I'd like to read a couple verses from the Quran, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
And Surah means chapter 49:13. It says, "O humanity, we created you from one male and one female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may get to know one another. Truly the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Allah has full knowledge and is well aware." And then in Surah 2:62, "Truly the believers, those who are practicing Jews, the Christians, the Sabians, and any others who believe in Allah and the last day and do what is right, are all okay. They will find their reward with their Lord. They won't have fear or grief in the next life." And then I also found this quote from Prophet Muhammad's last sermon. "All humanity is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab. A non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. A white person has no superiority over a black person. A black person has no superiority over a white person. The exception is due to piety and good deeds."
Interesting. That's pretty cool. I can see how, especially with your background, how that could be.
And that spoke to you for sure.
Sure, yeah, spoke to you, and I can see. I have not read the Quran. I'm not necessarily against it. I don't have a copy, but I have not read it. So I think that's probably the first chapter or verse that I've heard from the Quran, and that's a good one to
those are good ones to start with.
To. Yeah, for sure. So
yes, when I read those, I thought, well, that's what I've always believed, that everybody who believes in God and lives righteously is acceptable to him. I don't think the name of a person's religion is what matters.
Right.
And how did you come across the Quran? Was that a friend gave it to you, or how did you end up running into it?
My son had bought a used copy at a used bookstore, and it was a 1938 version of Yusuf Ali's translation. And it just sat on a shelf here for a long time. But I started having dreams about people I never met, a country I didn't even know existed. And these people were Muslims, and they encouraged me to read the Quran. So I got my son's copy of the Quran and started reading it. And then my husband also started reading it. And we really accepted the message, and it made us question things that we were taught in the church, not things in the Bible, but the doctrine of the churches. Mm-hmm. And I went to the library and got a big stack of books about the history of church doctrine. And when I researched how the church doctrine evolved through human thought, then I believed the Quran was correct. And I kept having dreams. And one night I dreamed that I was back in the 50s, a little kid, and in the little rocking chair that my daddy had made for me, watching TV, and a news report, Walter Cronkite, came on. And I don't know if this was ever a real news report, but it was in my dreams. And Walter Cronkite talked about the country of Tunisia getting its independence and from France, and that it was a Muslim majority country, and that was revealed to me in my dreams, that this was the country that I was dreaming about. And God inspired me in my dreams to visit Tunisia. Now, I didn't even know that country existed until these dreams, and I didn't want to go. I didn't, and I didn't have money to go, so I was kind of arguing with God that I couldn't go because I didn't have the money.
Right.
And Tom and I had a print shop, and I was he was a printer. I was an artist and writer, and we had a customer in Paris, France, and he wanted us to come to a meeting in Paris, and he said he would pay for the whole trip, the plane tickets, the hotel stay, all our food, everything. And Tunisia is just a short plane trip from France.
Wow, that is amazing.
I couldn't think of another excuse.
Yeah.
So we went to Tunisia and started looking for the people that I had met in my dream. And when we got there, we didn't have any plans, any reservations, no itinerary, and we didn't have much sense. So we started telling people, because they were asking us why we were there. And when we told them we were looking for people that I met in my dreams, they believed me, and they started taking me to different places to try to find one man in particular that I had met in my dream. And we finally met him, and I recognized him from my dream. And he was the great imam of the Great Aqaba Mosque, which is the third holiest mosque in the world.
Whoa.
And we went there, and we had already decided that we believed in the message of the Quran. So we said we were invited to make our confession of faith. So we both did. And that was how I celebrated my 50th birthday.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah. Man, you got quite the life experience.
Yeah, I can see why you got 7 books.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Wow. That is so cool.
So wow.
By the way, if anybody would like to read the Quran, I and a sheikh wrote this rendering of the Quran, and it is very simple English. We wrote it at a 5th grade reading, so that anybody can understand it. Children can read it, but also adults that just want to read the Quran in unencumbered language.
So earlier when you read what did you call them? Surahs?
Yeah.
Surahs. That was from that, right?
Chapter.
Okay. That was from that, because you used the word okay. You said something about okay, and I was like, that was in the scripture?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we wrote this for children, so I used common language.
That makes more sense. Damien, what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask for those who aren't seeing us visually, that are only hearing audio, can you read the name of that book? Or can you tell us the name of that book?
A Universal Message Interpreted from the Holy Quran by Linda Ilham Barto and Dr. Sheikh Ahmed Pander. He's a sheikh in South Africa.
Awesome. And did you translate that from like a certain version or like from scriptures, or how did you?
I researched the original Arabic and looked over every word. Dr. Pandor is he's we call it an alim, scholar, an Islamic scholar, so he knows the original Arabic. I worked 8 years on the book, and then he went over every single word, and if he felt that I made a mistake, then he and I would discuss it and change it and fix it. So very it's cool. As true to Arabic as we can make it, and it's non-sectarian. We didn't try to reflect sectarian beliefs, and we sometimes we would ponder 2 or 3 hours over one word, trying to express it the best way. The Arabic words have multiple meanings, so a translator has to pick one meaning to render it in English.
Right.
And if somebody can read the original Arabic, then he or she can get more from it because that person will know all the layers of meanings.
And do you speak Arabic yourself?
I know a few hillbilly Arabic words.
Okay. You probably just coined that phrase, by the way.
Hillbilly Arabic.
That's awesome.
That's so funny. Okay. So I know we're kind of changing subjects a little bit. I mean, but can you kind of describe like your overall thoughts, beliefs, and the nature of humanity, the like what Muslims believe, kind of a brief description of your religion and what you personally, Linda, believe as well?
Well, all Muslims don't believe all the same things, but we do believe in basic things. And one thing that I find important is that when God created humanity, he did not leave people without any spiritual direction. He gave them a religion. He gave a religion to Adam and Eve. And that religion is complete submission to God and having peace with God by abiding by his will and trying to live righteously. And in Arabic, the word that describes that religion is Islam. So we believe that Islam as a practice was the original religion given to humanity, given to Adam and Eve. And we consider Adam the first prophet, peace upon him. And we believe that each person is born a Muslim. We don't believe in the concept of original sin, that everybody is born a sinner and has to be saved. We believe every person is born a Muslim, and that means with a soul submitted to the will of God. And then that person strays because of the evil inclination that is within people just by the nature of being able to choose right from wrong, being able to choose whether to live a righteous life or a life apart from the Creator. So that's what we mean when we say every person is born a Muslim. We don't mean born into the established religion as it is now, but being born with the right heart and mind and soul that's connected to God. And when people leave that natural state of being in connection with the Creator, that person, when he or she becomes accountable, in other words, having an understanding of right and wrong, then that person has to make a decision to submit to God or to stay astray.
That's interesting. And is there a baptismal type practice with Islam, or?
We don't have a formal baptism like in the Baptist church and other churches. And I also got to see a baptism in a synagogue. And I think formal baptisms are very beautiful. But in Islam, it's a very personal thing. So after a person makes the statement of faith and becomes a practicing Muslim, he or she goes home and takes up a private bath. And it's acknowledging the cleansing of the soul and a new life.
Okay. That's cool. And is there like a specific scripture or prayer?
There is a verse in the Quran about baptism, and it's based on a Christian concept at that time where they put a red dye in the baptismal water to symbolize the blood of Jesus being washed in the blood of the Lamb. So in the Quran, it says, our dye is the dye of Allah. So we are baptized in the Spirit of God and not by the blood of the Lamb, but it's a spiritual cleansing instead of, we don't have the symbolism that baptisms have in the churches.
Earlier, and we kind of shifted gears, Linda, and I looked at my notes. You had talked about meeting and I'm going to butcher it. You said the great imam of the great something mosque.
Yes, imam. Yeah,
Imam.
Great Aqaba Mosque in Kairouan, Tunisia.
So how did that interaction go when you explained about the dream?
It turns out that dreams are important in Islam because we believe God does speak to people through dreams and visions. So he believed me. I was taken to his house, and when I saw him, I recognized him from my dream.
Really?
And, I told him the story, yeah, and he invited us to come to the mosque and states Shahada, which is the Muslim confession of faith. It says there's no God but God, and Muhammad is a prophet of God. And that's important because we want everybody to acknowledge that Muhammad, peace upon him, is a prophet and not God. And in the mosque that I attend, they also ask people to say, and Jesus is a prophet of God, so that they realize that in Islam, Jesus is not considered God.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering that. We need to take a break, but we have more, of course, with Linda here when we come back. So, give us just a couple minutes here and we'll be right back.
Hey, Randy, you remember how excited I was when I bought my house here in San Antonio?
Oh, yeah, man. You were pretty excited.
You know the one thing I didn't like?
That you were 2,000 miles away from the blue field?
The fence, Randy. The fence.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one windstorm from blowing over. That is until I was introduced to Van and Sons Fencing. Mark was able to meet with me right away and give me free quotes on different variations of how to build our fence. I eventually went with cedar pickets, treated 2x4s, and metal posts that were able to withstand winds of 120 miles per hour.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And you need that with the storms you get down there.
Right? And a year later, I'm still happy with the beautiful sturdy fence and the 2 gates that Van and Sons built for us. us. Mark, the owner, is actually a neighbor of mine, and he's done several fences in our neighborhood, and I can tell that they have integrity with each job. They don't cut corners, and they offer fair prices. They'll price match other reputable fence companies too.
Well, if I get my act together and actually move to San Antonio, I'll have to hit up Van and Sons Fencing. Are they on social media?
Of course, check out Van and Sons Fencing on Facebook. They have plenty of great pictures of their craftsmanship. And when you're ready, you can message them directly on Messenger or call or text Mark directly at 210-944-9238. Oh, and remember, fences make great neighbors.
Hey guys, Randy from the podcast here. As you might have known, I'm actually a realtor in the Boise, Idaho mountain home area with Next Home Treasure Valley. If you are looking to move to this area, let me know. Send me a message, and I'd like to help you out.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Randy's real estate expertise. I lived in Boise, Caldwell, for 7 years, and he was ready to sell my house when I was ready to move for work purposes. Love the area. I 100% recommend that area as well. And Randy was right on the ball.
Thanks, Damien, man. I appreciate it. So if you go to YouTube at Randy W Real Estate, that'll take you to my videos, or you can just email me at randy@randywrealestate.com, and we can get the ball rolling. So let me know if there's anything you need. And thanks, Damien. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Randy, have you ever had crack and cheese?
Well, I've had one of those. I'll let you guess which one.
Combine them, man. Just like Satisfied Food Truck did to create their delicious crack and cheese dinner. It's a handcrafted 3-cheese macaroni with buttery panko, or what they call a hood rat crumble, on top. I love the hood rat crumble.
Oh man, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, chasing it down with their Gingosaurus punch is the next step to a perfect dinner. And if you don't go for the crack and cheese, then go for the basic bird slider. I love me a good mini burger.
I mean, why not get both?
Exactly. Order the whole food truck.
How do I find them?
They're in the San Antonio area. Look up Satisfied on Facebook or at satisfied.sa on Instagram. Also, they do catering. Visit their catering website at enzosce.com. That's ENZOSCE.com.
Awesome. I'll tell them Damien sent me.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for taking that break with us. We are still have our friend Linda, the Hillbilly Muslim, here with us. And we're so excited to, and that's not a name I'm coming up with. That's she's loud and proud about that. She's got a book. It's called The Hillbilly Muslim, right? That's the title of the book.
Yes. And everybody is welcome to join Hillbilly Islam.
There we go. I love that.
So if someone is just curious about it, like if they're not necessarily wanting to switch religions, but they're just curious, I mean, is that a book that would appeal to them as well, Linda?
Yes, I always write with an interfaith flair. The Quran actually embraces all religions and all people. It doesn't say you have to change your religion to be a Muslim at heart. You just have to accept that there is one God for everybody, and that Prophet Muhammad is a true prophet of God, and believe in the message of the Quran. But I know several Christians and also a Jew who believes in both Jesus and Muhammad, and they believe in the Quran, but they just didn't change religions. The Jew that I know, he's a rabbi, and he told me that he believes in both Jesus and Muhammad, peace upon them, and follows their teachings. And he said he seriously considered becoming a Muslim, but he figured God could use him best where he is. So he became a rabbi, and he still believes in the Quran, and he's very active in interfaith communications, and he felt like God could use him best as a rabbi. So I respect that. The Quran doesn't say you have to change your religion. Right. The Quran embraces of all religions.
That's really good. I don't know a whole lot about the Muslim faith or the Islam faith, but my favorite book of all time is called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but in it doesn't. It's a fable story, but it talks about there's a Muslim character in there, and he was talking about the three, I don't know what the words used, that every Muslim's supposed to do about going to Mecca, feeding the poor, I think it was. And there was one other thing, and I can't remember what it was. And I always found that interesting.
There's fasting for the month of Ramadan. That's purification process. And the Hajj, the journey to the pilgrimage to Mecca.
Have you? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, have I been to Mecca?
Yeah.
I have not. Yeah, it's pretty expensive trip to make, and Tom and I are both in our 70s now, and
right.
We have some health issues, and I don't think it's going to be possible for us. But I consider my trip to Tunisia, that was a spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
So I just consider that as my pilgrimage.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How far is that from Mecca? I'm very ignorant when it comes to that part of the world.
Me too.
I'm not good with figuring out mileage, but I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if you were in the area, is what I was getting at.
But it would be pretty far. Tunisia is on the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh,
and so Mecca is in Saudi Arabia.
Do you still have those type of dreams that come to I don't know the word to be fruition in this world, like in the waking world? Do you still have those type of?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I have dreams, and sometimes I have visions. There was a murder locally. A woman had her entire face blown off with a shotgun at close range, and that she was found in the woods with no identification. So, as I'm an artist, so the police came to me to ask me if I could draw a portrait of what she might have looked like before her face was blown away. And I talked to her corpse and asked her to appear to me so that I could draw her picture, because I couldn't do it from her body because her face was gone. And she came in a kind of a ghostly vision. I mean, she was transparent, but I could still see her. And she didn't speak or anything. It was just a vision. And I drew her portrait, and and then she faded away. And the police were able to use that portrait to identify her, and it led to her killer.
Wow.
Holy cow.
You have so many gifts, Linda. That is absolutely, I mean, did you write about that in one of your books, or?
I don't think I wrote about that in any of my books. It's but I'm working on a new book, and I wrote that story in my new book. It's called The Joys of Hearing Loss and Other Fun. My husband has hearing loss, and some of the conversations we have are pretty comical because he never hears what I actually say. But what he hears is pretty funny sometimes.
That's funny. That kind of reminds me, there's a book like Everything I Needed to Learn, I Learned in Kindergarten, or something like that. There was a book that kind of reminded me of that title. That's cool. That's funny. So your husband also converted to the Muslim faith as well?
Yeah, at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did that together.
What was Tom also Baptist brought up, or?
Well, we had been going to different churches. I never went back to a
That's right.
Southern Baptist church. But the last church we were going to was Moravian.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, it's a small denomination here in North Carolina from Moravians. It's a Christian denomination, but it's small. But they have some really beautiful traditions from the Moravian culture.
Huh.
Okay.
And how did you meet Tom? If you said it already, I apologize.
Yeah, we met in the military.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were in the military yourself with him.
Right.
Is that where you learned your started with your martial arts, or?
No, I didn't start martial arts till I was 38 years old.
Oh,
wow. Okay. Interesting. I kind of assumed that actually that it was part of that you kind of learned it in military, but apparently not. That's a different part of your life. Okay. Interesting. Did you have anything else you wanted to follow up with on that, Randy?
Yeah. So, Linda, we could go on for episodes with you. Like, there's so many aspects of your life that are so interesting. One of those, though, was what you talked about with the vision with this lady who had her face shot off. And I'm thinking to myself, this couldn't have been a one-time thing. This is something you already knew, that you had this ability because the police came to you. Like, is this like a ghost whisperer type thing, or you know what I'm saying?
No, I believe in the spirit life, and that we're not that far apart. And if you study quantum physics, I think this linear time that we experience is just an illusion, but the quantum time, quantum dimension is not far away, and we're actually closer to the spiritual dimension than we realize, because in linear time, okay, if you have a piece of paper to illustrate space and time, if there was a spot on this end of the paper and a spot on the other end of the paper, with linear time, you got to travel all the way across the paper to get from one point to another. Right. But in quantum time, it's rolled up like a scroll. To get from one point to another in the scroll of the time-space continuum, you just go through the scroll. So in Islam, there's we believe in a wormhole or a tunnel that connects this world to the hereafter. And that tunnel or wormhole is called barzakh. So when a person dies, his soul travels through barzakh. And I believe that he or she arrives on the day of resurrection, because in quantum time, we don't have the illusion of linear time like we have here, but we just pass through. And I was actually in barzakh one time because I have a medical condition that causes fainting spells. And one time when I passed out, I actually stopped breathing.
Oh, wow.
And I was floating in this tunnel, and I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. But Tom was doing CPR and trying to bring me back. And he was talking to me, and I could see his face at one end of the tunnel. And his face was getting farther and farther away. But he was begging me to come back. And I was thinking, well, I could come back if I wanted to. But I felt so much peace and relief. I at the time, I really didn't care if I came back or not. But I saw the look on his face and how concerned and worried he was. So I thought, okay, I'll come back if he really wants to. And then I went, like that. And immediately I was back in my body.
Wow.
So I had that experience of going through the tunnel or traveling through the tunnel. So, that makes me believe in even stronger in the afterlife.
Right.
Absolutely. I didn't think I'd be talking about quantum physics today when we started this episode. I definitely have looked into that quite a bit myself. What about the idea of reincarnation? Is that something that you guys that you believe, or the religion?
No, we don't believe in reincarnation. It's not mentioned in the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad, as far as I know, never mentioned it. But I'm open-minded. I'm willing to discuss it and consider anything that doesn't fall outside of what the Quran says. I filter everything through the Quran, and the Quran says that everybody will die and go to meet God. So I don't see any evidence in the Quran for reincarnation.
Right. I was just curious with you looking, and by the way, I can totally tell that you're open-minded. That is very evident and
very clear.
And very appreciated, by the way. Like, that's what we're hoping for. But anyway, with the quantum physics, with the nonlinear time, in my mind, what I always saw, and I've never heard the wormhole explanation for that, but I always saw time being all at once. So, right now we're both children, but we're also, at the end of our life, you know what I'm saying? We're in all aspects of our life all at once. It's kind of how I always looked at the nonlinear time. So to hear your wormhole explanation is really interesting to me, to hear that explanation.
In quantum physics, we believe that linear time is creation, but all time, past, present, and future, existed all at once, was created all at once. And in Islam, Muslims believe in that everything is prepared ahead of time. Okay. And that just means we're living the pages of quantum time. That's predestination. It's called Qadr in Arabic, but we believe in predestination. But that doesn't mean that we don't have free will. It just means that everything we're going to do, we've already done in quantum time.
Okay. Yeah, that was gonna be my question, is if that was like a specific window. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a book called The Emergence of God and Other Topics, and it talks about quantum physics in the Quran.
Really?
That's how I actually got interested in quantum physics, because it's mentioned so much in the Quran. Like it says, a day in God's time is thousands of years in our time, and things like that. And that when a person dies, he can be dead for 1,000 years, but to him, and it only seems like a short time, a day or two. So there's lots of quantum physics in the Quran, and my book, The Emergence of God, is based on emergence theory, that everything was created all at once, and then in linear time, each thing emerged according to a divine plan.
Right.
And I used that theory in describing God's attributes. All of God's attributes existed always, but each attribute emerged in our time according to what the world needed at that time. And for example, God was always the most forgiving, the most merciful, but until humanity sinned, that attribute of being forgiving and merciful was not needed. So that attribute emerged when mankind sinned.
I definitely can see that. I think that things come when they're needed, but it's already there. And then a lot of the things you're talking about, like the thousands of years for one day, I've heard that before in a non-Muslim way. Yeah, on the Christian side, and or Judaism, maybe. I don't know where it came from, but I know I've heard that before. Mm-hmm. And then the term "all things under the sun have already been created" came to mind also, that you've heard. So it's really interesting that you brought that up. I always thought of like the thousands to one. It almost kind of seemed like. Did you ever see the movie Interstellar, Linda?
No, I don't think so.
Well, in it, they travel through a black hole, and then where the universe that they go to operates at a different time than we are. So it's like one day there is like 100 years here or something, or is a lot different. But anyway, So like in my mind, I almost thought of that like it was like a traveling, interstellar traveling kind of thing. So I don't know, but that's really interesting to hear your take on that. I might have to check out your books, Linda. I'm not going to lie. They're sounding very, very interesting to me. And of course, like I said, we will definitely put up some links, for that, so others can, hopefully check that out. I have one more thing from The Alchemist, and then Damien, I'll go ahead and hand that over. But they talk of in the book, the word maktub or maktub comes up many times. Are you familiar with that term?
No, I'm not.
Okay. It sounded like it was like "it is written" or something like that. Like it's like a prayer word or an ending or something. Like how you use the word "amen." It kind of sounded like it was used like in
like that. "Let it be done" or something.
Yeah, let it be. Yeah. So I was just curious of how that came into you. Did you have some stuff there, Damien?
I mean, yes, but it's like switching gears. So I wanted to stay on track if we were wanting to continue talking about quantum physics.
I find the quantum physics thing is very interesting. Like I really look into it a lot, but not necessarily at a, like, I feel like a lot of the things that science is discovering is stuff that has been talked about in my whole education, of course, has been on the Jesus side, Linda. But I do feel like he even spoke of it in different passages, just not using those words, not using the words that we use in modern time. So to hear you speaking of it in the Muslim perspective, it's really interesting to me. And did you have more on that, Linda, that you wanted to kind of go into before we switch gears?
Well, Muslims do believe in all the scriptures and all the prophets. So the Quran tells us to look into the previous scriptures, and I take that not only as the Jewish Bible and the Christian Bible, but I'm open to looking into scriptures from all faiths. I've read some of the Baha'i writings, and I agree with everything that does not conflict with the Quran. One thing that the Quran says that was not discovered until the 20th century with the Hubble telescope is that the universe is continually expanding. And there's a theory called the omega point theory, which is that the continually expanding universe will suddenly stop expanding and start collapsing on itself. And everything that has ever happened time will move in reverse, and everybody will be resurrected. All the animals will be resurrected. We'll go back to the beginning. And that's really a good description of what the Quran says about the day of resurrection. And we believe that all animals, all creatures, even the inanimate objects like rocks and mountains, have a communication with the Creator, and that God is able to talk to even the mountains and the skies, it says in the Quran. And everything that's ever lived will be resurrected and go back to God. And all animals and creatures will return to paradise.
Wow. I know, and I think it's the Buddhists also believe that, and I could be butchering that, but it seems like they believe that everything has its own soul,
energy.
its own, yeah. Like, so I find that really, really interesting. And man, I'm gonna have to look up to the mega point theory. I'm gonna definitely have to dig into that.
I think the idea of like an energy or a soul for even, like, as you said, the inanimate objects, I think that's a pretty, I think it's a pretty common belief amongst a lot of different religions and belief systems. I think, I don't think Christianity speaks to that, or, but I think, like, I find that interesting that, the Quran teaches that as well, because that's something that, I personally, when it comes to, my personal beliefs, that like that is something that really speaks to me, is a universal flowing energy, or I don't know if we're on the same page on that or not, but that everything has a soul or an energy or a purpose.
Yeah, in Islam we believe that all animals and all creation are Muslims, because they do whatever they were created to do. It's only people and spirit beings that have a choice to stay with the Creator or to stray away.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
That does make sense. Yeah.
I always looked at like old vehicles. Like if you have someone who loves an old vehicle, they keep it nice and it stays like new, but you have the opposite. Someone puts it in a garage and leaves it for 30 years. And that car, it's dying. Like it's like it has, and I know that I'm not trying to make light of what you're saying, Linda, but it just kind of pops in my head. Like I can see old cars that have been abandoned that are just, turning to rust. And it's just because like they're not getting any, like you don't have to give it a lot of, it's just giving it attention and love. It seems to really keep it vital.
I can relate to that. My husband Tom is restoring a 1938 Dodge.
Oh, nice!
So I can relate to that.
That's awesome.
A good.
That Dodge probably feels that love.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I tell him I'm probably going to have to bury him with it, though. He's been working on it so long. Have to finish that thing in paradise.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you'll go back to the training martial arts, and he'll be destroying that Dodge and
restoring paradise. That's awesome.
Just not next week, like you said. For neither one of you.
So we're getting towards the end. I hate to say that, guys. But Linda, I have to tell you, this has been absolutely amazing. I've enjoyed it so much. Is there anything that you want to add, Linda, before we let you go? Anything that you want people to know? It could be about your books or anything.
I would like to mention some things about Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him.
Sure.
There's a lot of lies about him being a warmonger and a pedophile and stuff like that. And Muslims are always constantly having to defend him, because he was not the person that the Muslim haters have made him out to be. He was a civil rights worker, and he was an animal rights activist. In Islam, animals have the right to be treated with respect and dignity. And we have very specific rules about how to treat animals that are going to be used for food. We still have to preserve their dignity. And Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, was a loving, kind person, a good husband, and a good father, and a good role model. So I want people to know that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you shared that. And you're right. We hear things, of course, but obviously in our show, that's not what we like. We don't like to just assume that stuff's, right. We like to talk to people who actually are in the faith instead of just making our own judgments. So thank you for adding that. Damien, did you have something you wanted to?
Well, I was wondering if you could kind of, and we might not have enough time, but
yeah, we got 3 minutes.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could tell us about how Prophet Muhammad came to receive the Quran and kind of go into the foundation story, but I don't know. You can
ask the biggest question of all
at the end of the. I know. I don't know.
Well, maybe Linda, if you're game, maybe we can have you back on one day and we can kind of go into a little bit more if that would be an interest of yours.
I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, we could do a part 2.
Yeah, because I think, just your life in general, Linda, leads to so many more questions. So I think that would be amazing for you because we're cutting really short on time. Yeah, and I know that question Damien just asked you was a very deep question.
Yeah, I love to do that.
Unless you have a 30-second answer for that, but if not, I would love to set up another time that we could kind of dive a little bit more deeper into that.
I'll be glad to do that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you as well. All right, Damien, do you want to go ahead and write us out? Thank you again, Linda. And
I was going to say thank you so much, Linda. This has been exciting just because you're the first guest that we've had that hasn't been like a friend within our life, and you were able to reach out to us through social media and say, hey, I'm interested, and I love that. Did you want to throw something else in there, Randy?
No, I'd love to call you a friend now, though, Linda.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, this is yes.
That's what I was going to say. We're friends now, and in Islam we say assalam. We say assalam alaikum, means peace upon you.
Assalam.
So we always read.
That's awesome. Well, that's okay. And I've seen you.
Peace upon you, Linda.
Yeah, peace upon you. Yes.
And Damien, you got 1 minute. So.
All right. Well. Yeah, I'll write us out of here. But thank you again, Linda. Friends that have been listening to Linda's story, we'll probably have a part 2 at some point. Thanks for listening in today. If you want to be part of the story, want to join the podcast, go ahead and email us at contact@notupfordebate.com. That's the number 4. Visit us on our website, which is notupfordebate.com. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any questions or want to be a guest on our show, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks, you guys.
Linda. We really appreciate your time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace upon you.
Peace upon you.